this is Dr. Shikha Datta, and I'm back with next video on feasibility reports. In the previous video, we discussed about the types of a business. Now, what is feasibility report? A feasibility report is that evaluates a set of proposed project, path, or solution to determine if they are viable. The person who prepares a feasibility report evaluates the feasibility of different solutions and then chooses their recommendations for the best solution. They then present the feasibility report to their company and make their recommendations. Now, what is the purpose of a feasibility report? Now, the purpose of a feasibility report is to determine the feasibility of solution or project path and chooses the best option. The feasibility report serves to break down different approaches to a problem or project and helps readers to understand the feasibility of each approach. Based on evaluation outlined in the report, readers can decide whether to take the report's recommendations of the best approaches. Now, this through analysis of different approaches can help companies to make the best possible decision on projects and problems. Section 2 include in a feasibility report. Feasibility reports can look different from companies to company, and you might have specific direction from your company regarding how to structure your feasibility report. However, most feasibility reports typically include a few key sections. Executive summary, one of the first component of a feasibility report is the executive summary. An executive summary can help your readers understand the main points of your report and get an overview of the report. Your executive summary can be brief, and be sure to write it clearly and concisely. Some elements to consider, including your executive summary, are brief description of what is in your report, including the problems you are solving or project you are working on. Notes on the main ideas from your research or important information from your report. Concise explanation of how the project or problems relates to the overall mission of the company. The goal of writing your executive summary is to keep in brief and understandable, as you can go into more details in your report. Although the executive report is one of the first elements of the report, many people choose to write their executive summary after writing their report to make it easier to determine what information to include in it. First is introduction. Another important component of feasibility report is the introduction. Following the executive summary, you can write an introduction that explains what the problem or project is and the proposed approaches. Like your executive summary, your introduction can be general and brief, as you can explain more details later in the report. Next is background and context. And in this particular area, a feasibility report should also include background and the context. This section is important to help report who read the report understand important contextual information. For example, if you have discussing different approaches for a project, you could include the history and goals of the project in your background and context section. If you are evaluating different solutions to a problem, you could explain where the problem came from and how it affects your company. This can prime your audience to understand the feasibility of different approaches. Next is evaluation criteria. You can also include report sections that explain your evaluation criteria. This section helps the reader of your report understand how you evaluated the feasibility of different approaches and why you arrived at your recommendations. Your evaluations criteria may include financial cost. Companies typically consider the financial impact of a project before taking action. So, financial cost may be one of the criteria in our feasibility report. Tax impact, you can evaluate different approaches based on how they would change your company's taxes as another criteria. Public perception, create certain projects or problems may affect your company's public perception. So you could evaluate how different approaches would influence your company's public perception in your feasibility report. Environmental effects, if your company values environmentally friendly choices, you could consider including the environmental effects of an approach in your report. Resources needed, you may need certain resources for different potential approaches. So you could evaluate the resources needed as one of your criteria. The evaluation of solution. This is a key section of a feasibility report is evaluation of solution section. This section accomplishes the purpose of a feasibility report, which is to determine the feasibility of the solution and the project path. The evaluation section is where you compare potential approaches based on your evaluation criteria. The evaluation process leads you to make your recommendations on the best approaches. And conclusion is another factor. You can summarize your report and mention your main points in a conclusion section. And this section can be brief and include a quick description of pros and cons of each of the approaches discussed. The purpose of this section is to remind you, your readers, how you evaluated each approaches before you make your final recommendation. And the final recommendation is the your best part of your writing report. The last section of the feasibility report contains your direct recommendation for the best path forward in the section, which can be brief. You can explain whether the solution is feasible or why you believe it is the right choice. The key to write the final recommendation section is directly stating what your recommendation is and why. So the examples is given for feasibility report. All the readers can just check with the examples and practice this sample. Thank you.